Alright, hello fun and welcome back to my Fallout 4 Mod Spotlight series, where today we are having a look at the Discharger Laser Pistol mod, which is being released by user Degenerate Dak. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is a fun new charging burst fire laser pistol. And I love this thing, as not only is it always great seeing a new energy weapon being added into the game, but I mean, come on now, it's burst fire and you can charge it up before firing. That's pretty darn cool, and I've been having a whole heck of a lot of fun with this thing thus far. So let's jump on over here and have a look at what exactly we are getting with the Discharger Pistol, which in its most basic and standard form will do 20 energy damage with an energy cell using a firing rate of 20, range of 71, accuracy of 72 for a weight of 4.2. And as you can see here, this thing is pretty good looking. I actually quite like it. It is a little bit chunky, which I guess, you know, fits with the style of most guns in Fallout 4, but still, even with its chunkiness, it's not too chunky, so it doesn't take up too much space on screen. It's, I'd say an appropriate size, especially compared to some of the standard in-game guns. And overall, I do quite like the design and look of it. It is pretty neat. We've got our energy cells down here, our little indicator light back here, and just all in all, it's a pretty fun little gun. And modification-wise, as you can tell over here, it is... well, it has quite a lot. It has quite a few categories of modification. In fact, there's more than 40 different modifications you can shove onto this thing. Now, it is always and forever going to be a pistol, so you're never going to be able to turn this thing into a rifle of any form. It is meant to always and forever just be in your one hand, which isn't too bad. I would like maybe if we could, you know, maybe turn it into like a sniper burst fire rifle or something along those lines. But you're stuck with pistol, so yeah, you'll just have to deal with that. Now, as for how you do get your hands on one of these lovely things, well, first and foremost, there are two requirements. The first is a DLC requirement. You are going to need Nuke a World for this thing to function. Now, as for mod requirements, it will require the munitions mod, as it is using a different kind of energy cell from the standard ones that we, you know, typically use here in Fallout 4. So yes, you'll need Nuke a World and munitions. Now, once you got those installed and, you know, the mod loaded into the game, you'll find these in the world on Brotherhood of Steel and Gunner enemies, along with in stores starting after level 12. So you're not going to have to wait too long to get your hand on one of these things, but it's still a little bit into the game. And of course, as with all the Degenerate Dak mods we see, there are two in unique locations in the world that you can go and find, which, you know, not too shabby at all. Now let's go have a look at what modifications we do have for this lovely gun, starting of course with the capacitor category up here, where we go from the excited to photon to boosted, all the way on up to an overcharged capacitor, which is the highest per shot damage you're going to get out of this thing without any other additional perks. So 35 there, so not the greatest, but it is a burst fire gun after all, so, you know, as long as you land all the shots from the burst, that's not too shabby. Now, one thing that did kind of, I found interesting, though, is between the boosted stuff here and then the overcharge, you know, is quite the large jump, a 10-point damage jump from 25 to 35, which seems strange. The other ones seemed a bit more close to one another, but nonetheless, still pretty fun. And then in the barrel category, we've got a pretty typical stuff here, a short, long, heavy, and a shielded barrel. In the grip category, we've got a standard, a makeshift, a comfort grip, and sharpshooter's grip. Then in the standard, or the, you know, energy cell capacity here, we've got the standard, improved, and high capacity, and each one does have a quick version of it, which is always nice for that quicker reload. Now then, in the side category, we've got a standard, glow, dot, hollow, reflex, a scope for some longer firing, and of course a recon scope as well. Now, then the muzzle category, we've got a nothing, a beam confinement dish, a focuser, and a magnetron. All nice there. I think I'd like the magnetron, though, purely because of, you know, the extra damage. But, of course, you're going to get a lot more recoil out of the thing, which, yeah, not always the greatest, but, you know, you can roll with it. And finally, in the accessories, we've got either nothing, a flashlight, a recon laser, heatsink, overcharger, and VATS targeting module. I think these two are my favorite, though, the heatsink and the overcharger, because, of course, since this is a charging weapon, having an overcharger on there to help improve that charge power is pretty nice. And the heatsink helps out a lot because some of the different modifications do fairly substantially lower the firing rate on this thing, so adding in a heatsink here is pretty nice to get that back up a few points. And that is it for the modifications. A pretty decent little list of things to help keep this gun, I'd say, serviceable into solidly mid-game. Perhaps with the right perks, you might get a little bit further than that, but I'd definitely say sort of an early mid to late mid kind of weapon, at least in my personal opinion. So let's see this thing in action, of course, starting with our standard version. And there we go. Each click of the mouse is going to fire 3 rounds, well, 3 laser beams, I guess, at your enemies, and they've got, on the standard gun, a pretty tight grouping on them. So even there, even though we did actually just miss the target, it shot all around it pretty closely. And, yeah, so with the 3 shots, they stay on target pretty darn easily, and at close range can be quite devastating. Now, of course, this is a charging gun, so you can do that same 3-shot burst, but hold it down like you do the Gauss rifle, and then fire. It's a little bit harder to aim with this because you'll notice as I go to charge, it starts actually angling the gun down a bit, but it's going to release wherever you were pointing at originally. So if I aim there, do the charge, it's kind of angled down, and then we release and we actually do hit on target. So it takes a little bit of getting used to, because just out of pure instinct, you're going to want to try and aim at your enemy with, you know, the crosshairs right on, but you actually want to aim a little bit lower as you're holding so that the burst does get them. But, you know, overall, it's a pretty fun little thing, and I do like having, you know, either the normal burst shot or this charge burst shot is pretty fun, and again, pretty devastating, especially at closer range with enemies. Especially if you do have that 35 damage one. 3 of those shots on target, close range, overcharged. Oh, it's gonna be beautiful. So wonderful. So let me take a look at the other ones we've got here, where I've got a focused, boosted, fiery Discharger Pistol. Decided to go with one of the lower tier gamma emitter ones here, so we can also light things on fire. And yeah, it starts looking like a pretty fun gun, though, with a lot more little bits and bobs attached, especially with the overcharger there. So we'll go with that one first. And we do have just the nice little scope. Beautiful. And you can see when these hit, since it does have that fiery damage, it actually kind of has almost a little mini explosion going on there, because, well, that's of course meant to light the thing on fire. Good times indeed. And yeah, with that overcharge too to this thing, oh, it's pretty great. It's wonderful. I do enjoy it. Now then, of course, we have the targeting overcharge one, where I try to get the most per shot damage out of this thing with using the beam magnetron as well as the overcharge capacitor. So without any additional perks helping you out, this one's going to deal 41 damage there. But, you know, not too bad, again, especially with that overcharge. So let's go grab that one there real quick, and I did go with the recon scope. And there we go. Gotta remember, I've tried to aim a little bit more properly that time. There we are. And just normal hip fire without the charge. Not too bad in the slightest. It is a pretty fun gun to play around with. I always do like these burst fire weapons. They are pretty great. Because I'm usually awful at full auto, but burst fire I find far more controllable. Good times. So let us try this, of course, against an enemy and grab out our usual friendly Deathclaw companion. And, oh boy, see how that goes. These guns are still a little bit underpowered, I think, for them, but charge it. I missed. Yeah, it's gonna be the problem for me with missing on those things, but... Ooh, I got like one of the shots on him there. Ooh, oh boy, yeah, this might take a little bit longer to kill. Ooh. Yeah, with my aim and him moving around so much, it's a little harder to get with the... Oh boy, there we go. Alright, let's just kind of quick fire instead of the charge there. Oh boy, yeah, with me and my crappy aim. It's gonna take a while. Let's actually switch over to the fiery one, so we at least get some damage over time with that glorious fire. And... Ooh, got some alright shots on him there, and he is, of course, now on fire, which is always nice to see. You know, I'm doing much better with this one than the other one, even though it's lower damage. Nice, nice. I think one of the parts for that reason, though, is because of the modifications on this one, it actually has a tighter grouping with the burst, whereas the other one, I went for damage, but I did lose some of that accuracy with my grouping. And when you add in the extra fire damage for damage over time, it's not too shabby. Oh boy, there we go. We got him at last. Took quite a fair few shots, but we did it. We did it. So yeah, not exactly the most powerful gun ever that we've looked at, but like I said, I really do like these burst fire weapons that we've been finding recently. They're a lot of fun, and one that's both burst fire and charge is a pretty nifty thing. So if you'd like to take a look at this for yourself, which I'd certainly recommend you go and do, you can have a look at the link in the description of the video, as per usual. Well, that, my friends, is going to be it for this one today. Hopefully you all have enjoyed, and you do come back for the next and whatever mod we do look at then. But until that time, thank you for watching, as always. Well, have a good one.